We are live, so the meeting is yours.
Welcome everyone to the Lyon Township Zoning Board of Appeals. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Lyon Township. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think Kelly had some feedback. 1 second.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, well, welcome everyone to the Lyon Township Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of May 17th, 2021. As a brief introduction, the ZBA is a five-member quasi-judicial body appointed by Lyon Township Board of Trustees per the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. Matters pending before the Zoning Board of Appeals are decided on a case-by-case basis. Any appeal of a decision made by the ZBA is subject to the circuit court review. Each case will be called separately in the order shown on tonight's agenda. There will be an opportunity for public comment at one point during each case. All persons wishing to comment will be asked to provide their name and address at the podium. Address your comments to the board and not the applicant or members of the public. Please make your comments brief. Comments by a neighborhood association will be considered part of the factual information presented to the board, but it is not the determining factor for approval or denial. Please confine comments to the specific request before the board. For a request to be successful, an affirmative vote of at least 3 members present is required. We hope this helps provide a better understanding of what you can expect at tonight's meeting. With that, why don't we do a roll call?
Okay,
Mike Barber.
I'm home in Lyon Township.
Louise Blades.
Present in Lyon Township.
Jim Chuck.
Present, Lyon Township, Oakland County, Michigan.
And Dane Wickham.
Present in Lyon Township. Okay, I think we don't need to do an official excuse there, do we, Carol?
No,
Okay.
no, you're good. You can move on to the agenda.
Okay, so I think a motion's in order for approval of the agenda.
Moves approval as submitted.
I'll second.
We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have to step out of this one since I wasn't there. So, so we have 3 ayes. That gets us approval of the minutes.
Oh, wait, that was just the agenda. Now we have to
I'm sorry,
approve the
that was the
minutes.
agenda. You're right. I'm sorry. So now we're looking for an approval for the draft minutes of the April 19th meeting.
Once again, a motion to approve as submitted.
I'll second again.
Motion by Mr. Chuck, second by Mr. Barber. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are on to case number 1 tonight. This is William Clark Quadrants Development LLC, Sidwell number 21-12-300-002 and 21-12-300-003. Properties located at 52405 Grand River. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 36.02 of the zoning ordinance, which requires a 25-foot vegetated strip to be provided from the boundary of any protected wetland to filter stormwater. This 25-foot vegetated strip is being provided, but the applicant wishes to install sewer and water main in a 260-foot length within that 25-foot setback area. Do we have anyone from the applicant here that would like to speak to the board?
Yes, William Clark, 49140 Wixom Tech Drive, Wixom.
Mr. Clark, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I believe in your packet you have a drawing that shows where we're proposing to place the sewer and water. The site is very constricted with wetlands bordering. Thank you, Brian. With wetlands bordering on both sides, there are only 2 choices. One is to put the utilities under the road which would be a burden to the township for future maintenance of those utilities under the road. The second thing is that it would stall even longer the ability to put the road in for the Amazon project to the rear of the site. The disturbance would be minimal. We are planning to take pre-construction video of the area and post-construction so that we can turn that in. The disturbance would likely be complete within about 10 to 14 days from the time we started till the time we were doing restoration in that area. And this new sewer and water will service the developments further back the road. In other words, the 108,000 foot building that we have currently approved and the 32,000 foot building. And the sewer would continue south to service future buildings if they ever occur back where the Amazon parking lot is going in. I sent to Catherine today, she thought she could get it into your packet, a letter from Eagle that they have no issues with us putting the sewer from Grand River down and into the site. There's no wetland permit needed. And that's about all I have. So thank you.
Thank you. Brian, I'm wondering if we can have you chime in on this based on the McKenna letter.
Thank you, Dean. You do have our letter dated May 14th of 2021. We have reviewed the proposal in accordance with the 5 standards for granting a variance. And as we know, we do not oppose the request. It is a unique site when you look at the site from an aerial perspective. You can see the outline of the wetland that's placed here. There really is quite a constricting point here where the existing drive is and where the new shared driveway is going to go. This is an all or nothing kind of proposal. It either goes within the wetland or it goes within the drive. But again, we don't see an alternative. And then in fact, when you look at the way that our wetland buffers are written in the zoning ordinance, they're really intended to allow for stormwater to infiltrate into the ground. As it's proposed, the water main and sanitary sewer line are going to be below ground. The surface will be restored to a natural condition. So we find that with a variance such as this, the purpose of the ordinance can still be followed. We're not giving preferential treatment to the applicants in this case because it's not a situation that occurs regularly along this Grand River corridor. So with that, you'll find our support. And I also want to note you have a letter from Leslie in your packet as well. And I know she's not here to speak on that tonight, but that letter indicates no real issues from her as well. So I want to point that out. I can take any questions that you might have relating to the zoning ordinance, but I'll turn it back to you, Dean.
Thank you. Carol, anything to add at all on this?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Any questions from the board for the applicant or for Brian or Carol for that matter?
So,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
well, you go ahead, at least. That's all right.
Oh, thank you. Mike, I have a question, not Mike. Brian, I have a question. So in the application or in your review letter, it does state that The utility line should not impact the ability of the ground to function as a permeable filter for stormwater, so long as the surface is returned to previous soil and turf after any maintenance occurs. So my question is, who would be responsible for ensuring that the surface is returned to the appropriate level? And then how would we set something up if there's any maintenance that continues to happen even after this project? Who would then be responsible to ensure that this is continuing to be, the surface is continuing to be maintained or returned to the appropriate permeable filter?
So in terms of the initial installation, both CES, sorry, not just both, but CES, myself, and the building department will all be on site reviewing to make sure that the site is built in accordance with their approved site plan. And the approved site plan shows that the surface above these utilities is largely going to be turf. So that'll be a combination of the three of us ensuring upon initial installation. Now, ongoing maintenance of something like this, these utilities, as Bill alluded to, will get turned over to the township once they're constructed, and they'll be built within an easement. So if they do need to be maintained at any point in time, it would be the township's responsibility to return those to the turf or other conditions as the site plan would dictate.
So I guess then my question becomes, I guess why, and maybe Carol could explain it to me, why would then the obligation to keep this maintained appropriately, why would that fall to the township? I understand that it's in the easement and it's the township's, but the applicant is not the township. So I guess I'm a little confused.
You're on mute, Carol.
Once it's constructed, it'll be turned over to the township. It'll be the township's responsibility to maintain it, just like any other line.
If they were to go with their alternate plan, then would it still be the township's?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And
Which
then
would
we'd be
likely
restoring a
result
road.
in more costs. I mean, if we had to
Okay.
rip up the road, so,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
Mr. Barber?
Is anybody else gonna, can I ask
Go
a
ahead.
question, Dean?
Go ahead, Mike, you're up.
Yeah, Lisa, always very penetrating, very intelligent questions, and that was a lot of what I was going to ask. But I still want to know: is there any precautions taken, like with a thicker pipe, or the drains, or the fresh water inside of an empty cylinder, or a tunnel, or something, to make it so that they wouldn't need to maintain? Is that possible, Brian, or anybody? Or is it even necessary? So that
I mean, that's really an engineering question, but I don't think the pipe changes just because it's going through there. And I assume once it's restored after the initial installation, the maintenance is relatively easy.
okay.
And I think to your question, Mike, if it was actually going through the wetlands, then we'd have Eagle involved and it'd be a whole nother conversation, and that's not the case.
Right.
Oh, it's on the easement outside of the wetland. It isn't really in the wetlands. It's on the.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
It's our environmental setback area.
I see.
One point of clarification I should note, and Bill caught this in at least my review letter. I was really referring to just the sanitary sewer lines, but under consideration are both the sanitary line and the water main, just for a point of clarification on that.
Mr. Chuck, anything to add or any questions?
No questions, just a quick comment. I think, first of all, Brian, your letter was spot on as it related to the 5 conditions. I like the way you summed that up. I know Mr. Clark is a good corporate citizen, And as long as there's no environmental issues and CES is happy, I see no objections whatsoever.
I felt the same way. My concerns were addressed in Leslie's letter as well. So with that, I'll officially open public comment for this at 7:15 p.m. If there's anyone from the public that would like to speak on this case.
We currently have no members of the public with us.
Okay. We will go ahead and close public comment at 7:15 on this. And unless there's other questions, I believe a motion's probably in order.
Lisa, I'll defer to you. My printer broke, so.
Lisa, go ahead.
Oh, well, I think
If you're ready.
I just wanted to comment, specifically item D, that, and also Carol's comments tonight, that the potential impacts of going without this variance appear to, as Brian outlined in his letter, they appear to be greater as a road reconstruction project, a simple underground line in the wetland setback. And I think that's significant for us when we're reviewing this, that it to be in compliance with the ordinance as it's set forth creates larger scale problems that I think would have negative effects to the entire community. And Brian, if you could just confirm, this is going to be, why am I blanking on the term? It's directional drill, is that correct? So there will really be very little chance for disturbance.
Correct.
Okay.
Brian,
And then I think to go back to my initial question, I think what's important is to know that CES and the building department and McKenna will be there to ensure that the surface is returned to the pervious soil and turf after any maintenance occurs. And so I think that having that additional level is what puts my mind at ease. And with that, I would.
Lisa, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, sure.
Bill had one comment. I think he was trying to interject.
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
don't mean to interrupt you, Lisa, but we are actually open cutting. That's
Oh, you are.
not
Okay.
directional bore, but open cut through there, the same as when we install the storm sewer that's already in going across that 25 feet. So the ordinance states that storm sewer can go within the 25 feet. It's silent to the sewer and water. And that's why I'm here before you tonight. But the plan is, because we're disturbing the 25 feet, putting in the stormwater in, I think it's three different areas there going under the road into the wetland, that we'll open cut that 260 feet.
Thank you for the clarification on that.
Yeah, and we will be taking pre-construction video to prepare or to show what is there, and then post-construction video to show that it is restored exactly how it was prior to our construction through there.
It's great.
I guess when I had spoken to Leslie about this earlier, I knew that she wasn't going to be able to come to the meeting. I thought that she said that it was going to be directional drill.
She may have at one point. Lisa and I have had a couple of conversations, or Leslie, I'm sorry, Leslie.
Okay, I was going to say we didn't talk, but
I didn't mean to accuse you of that. But
yeah.
Leslie and I had a couple of conversations, and it was clarified to her that it would be open cut, and she was good with that, although I'm not trying to speak for her, but she fully understood that we'd be open cutting.
I probably spoke to her before that was the final discussion that you had with her. So again, I guess then, Brian, I have a question for you. Is that problematic in your opinion?
No, and actually in open cutting, they're going to have to backfill with sand, which is going to increase the level of permeability through there anyways.
And again, remember, this is the environmental setback area. It's not actually in the wetlands.
Oops, I was muted. Yes, thank you.
Lisa, I have similar concerns. I think the bar is set though with the video and the expectation. So, open cut's going to create a little more work for Mr. Clark, but the expectation will still be the same coming out the other side. Well, with that, I think a motion's in order. Mr. Chuck has punted on making a motion tonight due to a printer issue, and I'm the chair. So
Exactly.
Lisa or Mike, you're up.
I'll let Lisa do it. She's better at it.
All right, well, let's see. I've got to get back to the right screen. So let's see. All righty. So I would like to make a motion to approve a variance from section 36.02 footnote F1, schedule of regulations of the zoning ordinance in regards to the William Clark Quadrants Development LLC at Sidwell numbers 21-12-300-002 and 21-12-300-003, property located at 52405 Grand River Avenue, and to grant the variance, which would allow for the applicant to install sewer and water main in the 260-foot length within the 25-foot wetland setback area. And to have the video before and after for to ensure that the surface is returned to a pervious soil turf. And I believe that's the end of my motion. Did I miss anything, Carol?
That's good.
All right, we have a motion. Good job,
Go
Lisa.
ahead, Mike.
I'll second.
Motion and support. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Mr. Clark, your variance has been approved. Thank you for your time this evening.
Members of the zoning board, I appreciate your assistance with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you on the next project.
Sounds great. We'll go on to item 2 tonight. Mike Millark, Bare Naked Wood LLC, located at 57460 10 Mile Road, South Lyon, Michigan. Sidwell number 21-21-400-012. The applicant is requesting the following variances from the zoning ordinance. A variance from section 16.06A of the zoning ordinance, which does not permit monument signs in residential districts. The applicant would like a monument sign in the R1.0 residential agricultural district. And B, a variance from section 12.05A of the zoning ordinance, which permits a home occupation to be conducted where signage, lighting, or other impacts do not differ from the residential character. With that, I will give the floor over to our applicant, Mr. Millark. The floor is yours, sir. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening. I just was looking for, we had started a new business here at the end of the year of 2020. I had called originally to the township, speaking with, I apologize, I didn't get a name from the township, but they had approved a small, less than 24 square foot sign that I could put out towards the road. After that, I had one of my friends of mine that owns a sign shop custom make a sign for me. I had that adhered to a 4-foot pallet, basically, put it out by the road. So the sign is no more than, it's less than 20 square feet. And I had mounted that out by the road. And at that time, I'd assumed everything was fine. That's why I went ahead with that. And then the township had come to me saying that there was a complaint about the sign. So then at that time, I had filled out an application to get the sign approved. And then this is why I'm here this evening. So basically all I'm looking for is to allow a sign out at the road for my business. Directly to my east, there is Steve's Auto Body, which also has a sign out at the road. Across the street from me, there is Mike's Garden Shop or Mike's Flowers. I forget exactly what the name is. I have no neighbors directly to my west. I've spoken with the other neighbors directly to my south and to my east, which all have been very happy with me or allowing me to have a sign in the yard. And that's why I'm just looking for a small sign just to allow my business name to be out at the road there.
Okay. There's a fair amount, I think should probably be addressed in the letter from McKenna. Brian, if you wouldn't mind giving us an overview on this one.
Sure. Thank you, Dean.
You know what, Brian, before you start, I want to add something. If I understood the applicant correctly, he said that he went and the township told him he could have 24 square feet. Did you ever apply for a building permit for a sign and were granted 24 square feet?
No, I did not. Prior
Okay.
to me even having a sign made, I called the township to make sure that it was okay to even have like a garage sale sign out at the road. And the gentleman, like I said, I apologize. I didn't get the gentleman's name, but I had called the township and he said, yes, as long as you have less than 24 square feet, you can have a small sign at the road. There'd be no problem. And that's why I went ahead and have a nice sign made. My buddy that owns Image 360 in Brighton custom made me a aluminum sign that I could adhere
Okay,
directly
all right.
on the front
Okay.
and the back of a 4-foot pallet.
Okay.
All right, just to clarify for the ZBA, you don't obtain a permit to erect a sign by a verbal conversation, okay? So, all right, go ahead,
Correct.
Brian.
Okay, thank you. You have our letter dated May 14th regarding this case, and in summary, we don't find that the request meets all 5 of the standards for a freestanding or monument sign in the R10 district. The ordinance itself is intended to encourage rural residential character in the R10 district. And so home occupation signs are limited to essentially a wall plate on the building, 2 square foot max. This is obviously above and beyond that. And so, but we don't find any specific characteristics of the site that require this to be seen. You know, a home occupation is not supposed to be a large commercial enterprise out near the road, highly visible. And so we don't find anything specific to the site that would dictate that the sign needs to be there. We do note that, as Mr. Millark noted, that some of his neighbors have commercial signs. These are longstanding nonconformities in the R10 district. The Steve's location as well as Mike's Garden, those signs would likely not be permitted today if we were looking to have those installed new. We don't find that there are that relief could be granted in any meaningful way. I mean, this is the question here really is, can you have a monument sign? And if the answer is yes, then this is a reasonable size for that sign. But if the answer is no, then that number should be 0. So, and we do find that this is a self-created issue, even though there are some nearby commercial uses that could be argued that they're similar. Again, those are nonconformities that we're not really basing new zoning decisions on. So in summary, we don't find that this is a request that's justified by the standards of the ordinance. And I can take any questions that you might have.
Okay, any questions for Brian at all? Carol, I think you're set, Carol, at this point?
Yes.
Okay, I'd open it up to the board for any questions for the applicant or for Brian or Carol at all. Mr. Rainey, welcome to the meeting, sir.
Well, thank you. Sorry I'm late, but I got T-boned at about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, whatever.
Oh, boy.
I'm coming home from work, so.
That's terrible.
I hope you're okay.
Yeah, well, I'm still pretty shook up. I just barely remembered about the meeting and I seem to be okay, but I'm not guaranteeing anything.
Fair enough.
Glad you're talking, Tony.
Yeah, me too. It could have been a lot worse.
I'm sure it could have been.
Trucks totaled.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Oh, yeah, I have a question for Brian. I drove by there today, and so Brian, the sign that's out there now, is that going to come down? Is it going to stay? I mean, there is a sign out there now. Can you just kind of help me out on that?
Well, it depends on your decision this evening.
All right, that's what I
If the
thought.
variance isn't granted, it would have to come down, or the alternative is the issuance of tickets until the
Yeah,
issue
I
is
mean,
resolved.
A monument sign, absolutely not. Yeah, and I know, without getting into too much detail, I mean, the one business I believe is, unconformed. It shouldn't even be there, but I don't know if it was grandfathered or not, but I understand that every case before us is, it's its own identity, and precedence doesn't always enter into any of these decisions. So thank you. I just wanted to clarify that in my mind. Appreciate it.
I think the simple question is, this is a newly established home occupation. So has he come forth with evidence to demonstrate all the things that he would have to demonstrate to be granted a variance for this sign?
Mhm. Thank you, Carol.
Mike or Lisa, any comments or questions?
My only comments are, that we continue to go back to the, our review letters, and to have the reminder that for a variance to be approved by the ZBA, it should meet all of the standards of section 8.02 D1. And it does appear specifically with item E, that it is the direct result of the applicant's desire for a sign. It does seem to be that this is self-created. And so I'm having a difficulty with this, that it's not, do we have any identification of similar properties that would be in the same circumstance? To address item C, where a lesser variance than requested will not give substantial relief to the applicant and or be consistent with justice to other property owners? Like, do we have is this the only parcel in the entire township that has this unique circumstance?
Well, just another board member's opinion. I would say no, that looking for a lesser variance there is going to open the door to a lot of small signs in the township of home run businesses. Just my opinion.
Mike, can I say?
I would tend to lean with what you're saying, Dean, is that, I don't think that this is a unique circumstance to this parcel. And then, if my understanding on ZBA decisions is accurate, it runs with the land. So this could be then granted to any future, home business that might end up in that same parcel. So I'm really having a difficult time in seeing how this meets the 5 required criteria.
Mr. Barber?
I wanted to note that the collision shop and the Rainey's, used to be Rainey's garden center over there. They have commercial buildings. They're large buildings, and they've been grandfathered in, I'm sure, and they've always had signs there. There is one farther east, the Arrow Tree Service. He doesn't have a sign, but to me, it looks like a mess over there. But he's got all of his bucket trucks and chippers and stuff behind the home, so you don't see it from the road, and he's pretty cleaned up. But he doesn't have a sign out in front. I don't know if he was denied or if he even asked. But I know the people, and they're good people. I don't know what to say. I don't like the idea of somebody opening a business in a residential area. I mean, if he was back in a subdivision on a cul-de-sac, I'd probably changed my mind a little bit, but this is right along 10 Mile. And so I'm still haven't made up my mind one way or another until we talk some more. Yeah, and I'm done.
Thanks, Mike. So, Mike, Mark, I struggle with this one because you're surrounded by non-conforming, and from your chair, I could see it being frustrating that, man, these properties have signs around me, and I'm not asking for anything different than my neighbor, but we really, as a zoning board of appeals, we don't write ordinance. We have to live within the ordinance that's written in front of us, and then we have some pretty specific things to grant the variance, and we really have to look at it as its own. Like it's like you're sitting there on an island. Here's the rules. Why would we give you a variance from that rule? And I would agree with the other board members. I don't see it. I see it as a real challenge to what our goal is here and how the ordinance is written. So I would be opposed to this. Carol?
Just have to open the
Okay.
public hearing.
May I?
No, not yet. Not right now.
Yep, just
Yeah,
one
you
moment.
need to open the
Mike.
public
You
hearing.
will definitely have time to talk again for sure. We will now open the public hearing for comment at 7:36 p.m. for anyone from the public to comment on this.
We currently have no members of the public joining us right now.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 7:36. Mr. Millark, go ahead. You're muted, sir. Mike, you're muted.
Ordinance. Oh, hold on one second.
No, you're good now. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. I have a bad internet connection. All I'm asking is, I'm starting a small business. My family has had a business in the area for 65 years, the Millark Nursery over on Haas Road. Rainey's has been right across the street from my place for numerous years. I have no neighbors to the west, or I'm sorry, to the west of me. If I was in a subdivision, I wouldn't even think about asking of this, this ordinance to be looked at. But being that I have Steve's Auto Body right next to me, I have a very neat and clean sign out by the road.
Oh, we lost
I
him.
think Mike is frozen up. Mike, are you there? We'll give him just a moment and finish his thought.
You're muted.
Mike, we lost.
Sorry about that. I have
we lost you for just a moment when you were talking about neat and clean site.
Yep. So all I'm saying is that, being in the area, I've been in the area for 11 years. I know the area. I don't have neighbors to my west. We have a federal wetland next to me. I have a commercial building across the street. I have another, Steve's Auto Body next to me. I'm not asking for the world. I'm just asking for a little sign to be out at the road that, we keep neat and clean and tidy. We've had a family business in the area for 65 plus years. All the material that I hand make and custom make for people is all behind my home. I am not going to have an unruly, untidy area for the area. And that's all I'm asking for is a very simple sign. And I understand if you decide that I cannot have this, but that's all I'm asking for.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Any other comments from the board? If not,
I just want to say,
Tony, go ahead.
Sorry. As Mike's neighbor across the street, he's got a great place, and I was kind of hoping that the township would be a little bit more lenient in this situation with all the COVID and the things going on, to let him at least get started in this. But I understand, as a board member for many years, that that the things are the way they are in the township, and that's what it is. But he keeps a beautiful place over there, and the sign is a beautiful sign, and I personally have no trouble with it as a neighbor or any other way. But I understand my position on the board too, and I just can't, I'm just telling you my thoughts on it. That's all. Thanks.
That's fair. Thank you.
Mike Barber, can I say something?
Yes, sir.
And
Mr. Barber.
Tony, you probably should have recused yourself on this one.
Well, I haven't voted or anything yet, and I was almost thinking the same.
Well, you shouldn't participate either. So.
Well, and I can just
I mean, are you able to fairly decide this despite your relationship and closeness to this property?
Well, I don't see why not. I mean, I understand I understand my
Okay.
position on the board. That's, I mean, this is a
Yeah,
different.
no, I
this is
just,
a whole
I
different
have to
thing.
ask you whether you,
As
whether
a
you
as a
feel,
township official, I'm in a different position than as his neighbor and a guy, I know him, you know, we're not friends, best friends or anything, but I do know him. He's a nice guy. They're a great family. And I just, you know, I don't know if I should just not vote on this. I might
well,
just
no,
abstain.
you just stated that you can decide it fairly, but you have to answer that question in order to participate in this. So you said you can decide it fairly, so we're going to assume that that is true. So
Okay,
you can go ahead and vote on this.
okay.
Mr. Barber, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask Carol a question. Is there any way that we can have a temporary sign that?
No,
No, okay. I was thinking that he'd probably expand his business sometime in a year or two, making enough money. He'd go rent a commercial building and the sign on the house would go away and he'd have a commercial space on Haas Road or something.
remember, again, you have to focus on your standards, okay? So this, you can't look at the surrounding properties because those are nonconformities. And what that means is when those nonconformities cease, those signs come down and there will not be signs there. But this is an applicant in the first instance. If you grant a sign, that sign will be up permanently, okay? So you have to look at it in terms of this is a home occupation. Has he established the standards to get a variance to have a different sign than any other home occupation would be entitled to?
And that's where the rubber really hits the road there. And
Right.
it's an issue for me. Yeah.
Carol,
Right.
I would like to make two comments. One, I do appreciate that explanation on your side of, you know, the other two neighbors, which I know we're not supposed to consider, but the other two neighbors, if they are if they are kind of grandfathered in, it's once those signs come down, that they don't get signs again. So I think that that's
Correct.
very important to identify. And then, you know, I know that Tony has been on the ZBA for a long time, and I just wanted to make it to support him in saying that I do truly believe that he can make an unbiased decision tonight. So I completely feel comfortable with him participating and voting in tonight's case. But I know that, you know, he seemed he was a little bit unsure if he should or shouldn't, but I trust, Tony, I trust you. So that out there.
That's great. Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, I would entertain a motion. Everyone's looking at you again, Lisa.
Well, let's see. I would then, let me get back to the agenda to get my bearings. I would like to make a motion which would deny the applicant's request for a variance of section 16.06A of the zoning ordinance. Mike Malarch from Bare Naked Wood LLC, Sidwell number 21-400-012 for the reasons that are outlined in the McKenna review letter.
If I can just add something here, since it would be a denial, I would recommend that you put something in your motion to give a time frame for removal of the sign that's already there.
Do you have a recommendation?
30 days.
I would like to add to my motion that it would include removal of the existing sign within 30 days.
Okay, we have a motion to deny the variance. Do we have a second?
I'll support the motion.
Mr. Chuck, support. Any further discussion? All those in favor of denying the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. The variance is denied. Mr. Malark, thank you for your time. I'm sorry it didn't come out to your result, but I appreciate your professionalism and politeness in the process, for sure.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no other business on the agenda, I would move to I'm going to adjourn this puppy unless there's an
Dean.
objection. Brian, go ahead.
I want to make one note. So the second variance that is on your agenda for consideration, item 2B, is no longer pertinent since you did not grant the variance for A. So I'd just
Correct.
like the record
Thank
to
you.
state that, and you don't need to make any
Thanks,
motion regarding 2B.
Okay, anyone else? We will call this meeting adjourned at 7:45 PM. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa, for the
Hang on a minute.
Next week.